Crash and the Huntress. The sky was burning. Flames danced across the black clouds as the ship fell. Metal cracked. Alarms screamed. And then, silence. Jake didn't remember the crash. 1 second he was in space, flying near a strange planet, and the next he was lying in the dirt, bleeding, his body broken. He opened his eyes slowly. Everything was blurry. Smoke rose around him. Pieces of his ship were scattered everywhere. His arm was cut. His leg wasn't moving right. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his side. He lay back, breathing hard. He wasn't alone. Something was moving between the trees. He heard soft footsteps. Too heavy for a small animal. Too light for something big. His heart started racing. He picked up a sharp piece of metal from the ground, just in case. Then he saw her, tall, fast, covered in strange dark fur and armor made from bone. Her skin was a dark silver, her eyes glowing like cold fire. She had claws, fangs, and a long spear in her hand. She stared at him. Didn't speak. Didn't move. Jake froze. Was she a hunter? Was he her prey? Suddenly, she growled. Not loud, but deep and low like thunder before a storm. He raised the metal shard. She didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped forward, knelt beside him, and sniffed the air around him like an animal. Then she picked him up. Just like that. He tried to fight, but he was weak. Too weak. His vision faded. Her face was the last thing he saw before everything went black. He woke up inside a dark cave. A fire burned in the corner. The smell of meat filled the air. Jake blinked, his body aching. He was wrapped in soft animal skin. His wounds were cleaned. Someone had taken care of him. Her, the Huntress, was sitting by the fire roasting meat on a stick. When she noticed he was awake, she stood and walked over. He tried to speak. "Who are you? What do you want?" She didn't answer. She just knelt beside him again and held out the meat. He stared at it. It was raw on the inside, dripping. "No thanks," he said. Her eyes narrowed. She pushed it closer. "I'm not hungry," he said again, trying to turn his head. Then she growled. Not like before. Louder. Warning. Threatening. Her sharp teeth bared. Her body tensed like she was ready to attack. He froze. Carefully, slowly, he took the meat and bit into it. It was awful, but he chewed and swallowed. The growl stopped. She nodded, satisfied, and sat back down by the fire. The next few days were strange. She never spoke. Not in words he could understand. But she communicated with sounds, with movement, with her eyes. When he tried to stand, she helped him. When he tried to walk out of the cave, she blocked the path. Outside, the planet was dangerous. Jake could hear it. The howls at night, the screeches, the roars of creatures hunting each other. Every morning she left with her spear and came back with food. Sometimes strange fruits, sometimes meat. She always gave him the first bite. Always watched him eat. If he hesitated, she growled again. It was like she thought he was a child, a cub. She protected him, fed him, even cleaned his wounds. But why? He didn't trust her. Not yet. But he couldn't deny the truth. Without her, he would be dead. One night he woke up suddenly. She was standing at the entrance of the cave, her body tense, spear raised, eyes locked on the trees. Something was out there. He saw it too. Glowing eyes in the darkness, 4 legs, sharp teeth, a beast twice the size of a lion. It crept toward the cave. He stayed still. Breath caught. The Huntress didn't wait. She roared and leapt at the beast with terrifying speed. The fight was brutal. Claws, teeth, blood. In the end, the beast lay dead. She dragged it to the cave, dropped it outside like a trophy, and sat by the fire, breathing hard. Jake looked at her differently now. She was more than a wild animal. She was a warrior. The next morning, while she was out hunting, Jake looked around the cave more carefully. He found something under a pile of bones, An old, torn piece of cloth. It was human-made. He was sure of it. A patch on it read, U.S. Mission. Orion 7, his heart sank. I'm not the first, he whispered. That night, as she fed him again, he stared at her. Why me? He asked. She just growled softly. Not angry, not threatening. This time, almost like a warning. Rules of the wild. The jungle outside the cave was alive with sound. Deep roars, sharp screeches, and the low hum of something huge moving through the trees. Every noise felt too close. Jake sat by the fire, staring at his hands. They were still shaking. Days had passed since the crash. His wounds were healing. His body was stronger now. But his mind? It was trapped. He had no idea where he was. How? Far from Earth, or if anyone was even searching for him. And then there was her. The alien Huntress. She was outside again. He could hear her soft footsteps as she returned from the forest. They were always silent, but he was learning her rhythm now. Fast and smooth like a predator. She entered the cave, carrying a giant insect-like creature over her shoulder. It was nearly as big as Jake, with spiked legs and a blue shell. She dropped it in front of him with a dull thud. Jake stepped back. You expect me to eat that? He asked. She ignored the words. She grabbed her curved blade and sliced the shell open. Thick green liquid oozed out. She cut a piece of soft flesh and handed it to him. Jake took a breath. This again? She growled softly. He forced a smile. Fine, okay. He bit it. It was bitter, but not the worst thing she had made him eat. Still, he noticed how she stared at him when he chewed, as if watching for something, as if waiting for a sign. Later that day, she motioned for him to follow her outside. He hesitated. What if something attacks me? He asked. She looked at him, with an expression he couldn't read, then tapped her own chest. A sign. I will protect you. He followed. The jungle was hot, full of steam and buzzing insects. Trees were massive, covered in thick vines. Strange creatures moved through the leaves, some with wings, some with too many eyes. He stayed close. The Huntress walked ahead, her spear always ready. She moved like she was born in this place. Jake, meanwhile, tripped over roots and almost fell into a pit full of snapping plants. She grabbed his shirt just in time and yanked him back. Her eyes flashed with anger. He muttered, Thanks. She didn't growl. But she looked at him longer than usual. They walked for hours. She showed him how to gather clean water from tree trunks, how to avoid the red flowers, they spit acid. She pointed to the sky when flying hunters circled above. Each time Jake followed her lead, she gave a small nod of approval. But there were rules she never explained. Every time he stepped off her path even slightly, she would growl. Every time he spoke too loudly, she growled. Every time he touched something without her permission, she growled. At first, Jake thought she was being overprotective, like he really was a helpless cub. But then he realized something. She was scared, not of him, but of something else. They returned to the cave before sunset. The jungle grew louder at night, more dangerous. He was exhausted. His muscles ached. He collapsed near the fire and looked at her. You don't sleep much, do you? He asked. She sat by the entrance, eyes on the trees, spear in hand, watching, guarding. What are you so afraid of? He whispered. She didn't move. That night, he had a dream. He was running through the jungle, but everything was burning. Behind him, shadows chased him, giant figures with glowing red eyes. He screamed, but no sound came out. When he woke, she was beside him. Not sleeping, just watching him breathe, like she was checking if he was still alive. The next day, Jake made a decision. He had to learn more about her and this place, or he'd go insane. So when she left to hunt, he didn't stay in the cave. He followed her, quietly, carefully, staying out of sight. At first it worked. He moved slower, quieter than usual. She didn't notice. Then she stopped suddenly. He ducked behind a tree. She tilted her head, sniffed the air. Jake held his breath. She turned sharply and looked right at him. He stood up. I just wanted to see what you do. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't growl. Instead, she walked toward him, grabbed his arm and dragged him, fast, through the jungle. He didn't understand. Where are we going? But her face said everything. Danger. They reached a clearing. In the center stood a large stone altar covered in moss and vines. Bones were stacked all around it. Jake stared in horror. Human bones. Boots. Gear. Even a broken helmet. He stepped forward slowly. He could see a name scratched into the side of a damaged metal plate. S. Harris. Earth Corps. These were soldiers, he said. My people. The Huntress didn't look at him. She stared at the bones like they haunted her. What happened to them? He asked. She said nothing, but her hand touched her necklace. He hadn't noticed before, but one of the pieces wasn't bone. It was a human tooth. His heart raced. What are you hiding? He whispered. Suddenly, she pushed him back. Not hard, but fast. Her eyes scanning the trees. Then Jake heard it. Something was approaching. Fast. Huge. Heavy. The ground shook. The Huntress growled, a real, deep growl, and stepped in front of him, to protect him. What is it? Jake asked. She didn't answer. She raised her spear and waited. The cave of bones. The creature came out of the trees like a nightmare. Its body was long, built like a serpent but with 6 legs, sharp claws, yellow glowing eyes, and a mouth that opened sideways. The ground trembled under its weight. Vines broke, birds flew away, even the air felt heavier. Jake's breath caught in his throat. He didn't move, couldn't. The Huntress didn't hesitate. She stood between Jake and the monster, her shoulders tense, spear pointed forward. Her growl was deep, louder than before, like a warning to the whole jungle. The creature growled back. It circled slowly, eyes on Jake. Don't let it see me move, he whispered. The Huntress stepped sideways with it, matching its motion, her feet silent, her muscles ready to explode. The moment the creature lunged, she did too. They clashed in midair, rolling into the dirt. Her spear stabbed deep into its side, but it didn't die. It roared in pain, its tail whipping around like a blade. The Huntress dodged once, twice, then got hit hard. She flew back, crashing against a tree. No, Jake shouted. The beast turned toward him now. He looked around. No weapon, no place to run. Only bones and broken gear from long-dead humans. He grabbed a sharp metal pipe from the ground, held it tight. The creature charged, but before it reached him, the Huntress rose again, bleeding, limping, and furious. She didn't growl this time. She screamed, a sharp, high, alien scream that echoed across the jungle, and she attacked. This time, she climbed the creature's back, stabbing again and again. The monster howled, trying to shake her off. She didn't stop until it fell to the ground, twitching, dying, bleeding out in the dirt. Silence returned. Only the sound of her heavy breath remained. Jake rushed to her. You're hurt. She waved him off but stumbled. He caught her arm. You saved me, he said. She didn't answer, just looked at him, blood dripping down her face. Then without a word, she pointed to the altar again. The bones. The message was clear now. They weren't just here. They were hunted. Later that night, back in the cave, Jake helped clean her wounds. She didn't stop him. Not this time. There was a strange silence between them, one of understanding. She wasn't just protecting him because of instinct. There was more. He had seen it in her eyes now. Pain, memory, guilt. As she slept, Jake looked deeper into the cave. He had avoided the back tunnels before. Too dark, too quiet, but something was pulling him there. He lit a torch from the fire and walked slowly past the sleeping Huntress, deeper into the shadows. The air grew colder. The walls were marked with strange symbols, drawings of stars, ships, and figures that looked both human and alien. Stories, maybe, or warnings. He stepped into a hidden chamber and froze. Bones. Not just scattered, arranged, cleaned, organized, placed carefully on stone shelves like a shrine. Some were small, child-sized, others full-grown. Many still wore pieces of earth, military gear. Some had names scratched into the metal tags. M. Torres J. Kim R. Elliott stepped forward, heart pounding. There was a data chip inside one helmet. He grabbed it. If it still worked, it might hold video logs, messages, answers. He turned and saw something else. A drawing on the wall. The Huntress. Tall, powerful, drawn in red paint. Next to her, another human, male. Holding her hand. Underneath, one word written in English, scratched in by someone long ago. Traitor. Jake stepped back. What did it mean? Was she working with humans once? Was she helping them? Or was she the reason they died? When he returned to the main cave, the Huntress was awake. She looked at him. His hands were shaking. You knew them, he said. She didn't respond. He showed her the tag. Torres. Her face twitched. Like the name hurt. Were they your enemies? He asked. Or your friends? Still no answer. Then she did something unexpected. She reached into a pouch near the wall and pulled out a small, damaged hollow device. She activated it. A broken voice came from the static. This is Commander Torres, mission log day 12. We've found shelter. The alien female helps us hunt, but we don't know if we can trust her. Jake's eyes widened. The message cut off. The Huntress turned it off, her face dark. What happened to them? Jake whispered. What did you do? The Huntress stood slowly, walked past him and pointed toward the stars outside the cave entrance. She drew a circle in the dirt. Then, inside it, a small dot. She looked at Jake and spoke one word, her voice rough. Alien, but clear. Earth. His blood turned cold. You know Earth? He asked. She didn't answer, but she looked guilty. Later, while she slept again, Jake sat by the fire, holding the dog tag in his hands. Something was wrong. She was hiding more than just the past. She knew where he came from. She might even know why he was sent here. In the silence, he heard something new. A soft beep. He looked toward the wreckage of his ship at the edge of the jungle. Something was blinking inside. He ran out, heart pounding. A broken comm screen lit up. Signal detected. Origin. Unknown. Arrival in 3 days. A ship. Someone, or something, was coming. The forbidden zone. Jake couldn't sleep that night. His eyes were locked on the blinking message screen from his broken ship. Signal detected. Origin unknown. Arrival in 3 days. He didn't know if it was rescue or something worse. The Huntress slept in silence, her breath steady. Her body still healing from the last fight. She had risked her life to protect him. And yet, she was hiding something. Not just from him, but maybe from herself. The bones in the cave. The recording of Commander Torres. The word traitor scratched into the wall. And then, there was the signal. Someone out there knew he was still alive. But how? The next morning, he made a choice. He needed answers. He packed a small bag, tools, water, and the chipped data core from the cave, and waited for the Huntress to leave. She didn't say goodbye. She never did. She only gave him a long look, like she knew he wasn't telling her something either. As soon as she was gone, Jake left the cave and went north. Away from the safe path, toward the dark area she always avoided, the forbidden zone. The trees there were different, twisted, blackened, like they'd been burned long ago. The air was dry, quiet. No birds, no animals, only wind whispering through dead branches. After 2 hours of walking, Jake found something strange. A massive scar in the earth, as if a ship had crash-landed there, long before his own. Half buried in the dirt was a broken alien craft. Smooth metal, covered in vines and moss. Jake approached slowly. Part of the ship still blinked with red lights. He touched the hull. It was warm. Someone, or something, had been here recently. Inside, he found what he didn't expect. Technology far more advanced than anything humans had ever built. Holograms. Weapons. And one half-dead alien inside a medical pod. The alien wasn't like the Huntress, thin with pale skin and long limbs. Eyes like glass. It opened its mouth slowly as Jake stepped closer. "You are human?" The voice was weak, broken. Jake nodded. "Yes, who are you?" The alien coughed, leaking dark blood. "She hides you, like a cub, but you're not safe." "You know her?" Jake asked. The alien nodded. "She was one of us before she turned." Jake froze. "What do you mean? Turned how?" The alien coughed again. "She chose emotion, not logic. She protects you because you're the last piece." "Last piece of what?" "They're coming," the alien whispered. "Not for you, for what's inside you." The pod lights dimmed. The alien was dead. Jake stepped back, heart pounding. What did that mean? Inside him, what did they want? He looked around the ship and saw a strange black console glowing. When he touched it, the screen lit up with alien text. Suddenly it shifted to English. Project Seed. Subject, human hybrid, DNA link confirmed. Subject is viable. Retrieval ordered. Arrival in 72 hours. Jake stepped back in shock. Him? He wasn't just a survivor. He was the target. He ran from the ship, through the jungle, breath heavy. Every step echoed with the alien's warning. She protects you like a cub, but you are the last piece. He made it back near the cave just before sunset. And there she was. Waiting, the Huntress stood at the cliffside looking down at the jungle like she sensed something was changing. Jake didn't speak. She turned slowly. And this time, she growled. A soft, hurt growl. She had followed him. She knew. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jake shouted. She didn't move. "You know what I am. You know they're coming for me." She walked toward him slowly, carefully, like he was the one who might run. He backed away. "Am I just some science experiment to them?" he asked. "What am I to you?" She stopped right in front of him. Her eyes were full of something he hadn't seen before, not rage, not control. Regret. She pointed to his chest, then to the sky. Then to herself. Slowly, she placed her hand on her heart and then touched his. Jake understood. "You are mine." That night, she finally showed him something hidden in the cave. A second tunnel. Deep, narrow, filled with markings. At the end was a chamber, unlike the rest. It glowed softly with crystals. At the center, a stone altar holding a strange metallic box. Jake stepped forward. The Huntress nodded. Inside the box, a memory core. Human-made. He connected it to his broken ship's console and it played. A message. Project Seed final log. Subject Jake Renner. Gene-altered, immune, adaptable. Survival key. Extraction team failed. Last known protector. Alien subject. 13. He stared at the screen toward him. They had changed his DNA, made him into something. And the Huntress? She wasn't just protecting him. She was assigned to him until she went rogue. "You knew this all along," he said quietly. She looked away. Jake didn't know whether to be angry or grateful. Maybe both. The final words in the log echoed in his mind. If subject is found, the war begins. He looked out of the cave. The stars above were no longer peaceful. Something was coming, and this time he wasn't sure if even the Huntress could stop it. The Huntresses passed. The night sky burned with stars, but Jake couldn't enjoy the view anymore. Not now. Not after what he'd learned. He sat at the cave's edge holding the memory core that had changed everything. He wasn't just a survivor. He was created. His DNA was engineered, altered, made into a key for something bigger, something no human had ever signed up for. A weapon, a cure, or both. And the Huntress. She was supposed to deliver him, but she didn't. She had chosen to protect him instead. Why? Behind him she stood in silence, watching. Always watching. Finally, Jake turned. "You owe me the truth," he said. She didn't move. "I know you can't speak my language," he continued, "but you understand it. I know you do, so listen." He held up the core. "Why did you betray them? Why me?" Silence. Then, slowly, she walked to the far side of the cave and pointed to a wall of stone. Jake had seen it before, but never looked close. She touched it, and a hidden panel opened. Behind it, an old device. Alien, but dusty, almost forgotten. She picked it up, turned a switch. A hologram flickered to life. Not from Earth, from her people. The screen showed a female figure, younger, thinner, proud, standing before a council of tall aliens, all dressed in armor, faces hidden behind glass masks. The voice spoke in deep, clear tones. Subject 13, trained for hybrid control. Mission, monitor the seated human. Retrieve when activated. Failure is death. Jake stared at the figure in the image. It was her. The Huntress. But different. Clean. Sharp. Her eyes full of purpose. Not the wild warrior he knew. The message continued. Subject 13 shows excessive emotional development. Concern. Attachment. Risk. Jake looked at the Huntress. You cared. Even back then. She didn't react. But the message went darker. Incident log. Subject 13 refused to extract previous hybrid. Eliminated fellow hunters. Location compromised. Now. Rogue, kill on sight. Jake's chest tightened. You killed your own team, he whispered. You chose a human over them. He looked at her. Was it me? The Huntress finally stepped forward. She placed something in his hand, a small silver object, a bracelet. Jake blinked. He recognized it. It had belonged to his sister. She was part of an earlier mission. Lost. Never found. He looked at the Huntress, stunned. You knew her? The Huntress knelt beside him, and for the first time she spoke. The word was rough. Alien. Broken. But clear. Kin. Jake felt the air leave his lungs. His sister, and the Huntress, were bonded. She had failed to protect her once, and now, she was making up for it with him. Not because of a mission, because of a promise. The next morning they left the cave together. No more secrets between them. She led him deep into the jungle, farther than ever before. They reached the ruins of a burned-out camp. Jake recognized the human tech immediately, his sister's old team. Destroyed, torn apart. This is where she died, he whispered. The Huntress didn't speak, but she walked to a tree and knelt. Beneath it, a grave, covered in alien symbols, half in her language, half in English. Family is chosen. Jake knelt beside her and understood everything. She didn't just fail his sister, she loved her, not as a soldier, but as something else. Suddenly, a low hum shook the ground. Jake stood. What is that? The Huntress turned her head sharply. They both looked up. A ship, breaking through the clouds, sleek, massive, no markings, not human. Jake's hand closed around the memory core. They're early, he said. The Huntress raised, her spear, eyes full of fire. They weren't coming to rescue. They were coming to collect. That night, they didn't sleep. They prepared. Traps, weapons, escape tunnels. Jake had never killed anything, but he would now. because the people coming weren't here to talk. They wanted him, and he was done running. He looked at the Huntress across the fire. "You stayed for me," she nodded. "Now I stay for you." Enemy in the stars, the jungle was silent. Too silent. Even the birds knew something unnatural had entered the sky. Above the trees, a dark ship hovered like a shadow carved into the stars, smooth, silent, and far more advanced than Jake had ever seen. No engines, no fire, just quiet death, floating closer every minute. Jake stood at the edge of the cliff, staring up. His chest felt tight. "This isn't a rescue," he said. The Huntress didn't answer. She stood beside him, her spear in hand, armor tightened, her body painted in mud and ash, ready for war. They were alone, but not helpless. That morning, they had turned the jungle into a trap. The Huntress knew the land like it was her own skin. Together they built spike pits, nets, tripwires, and explosive arrows made from old ship parts and jungle chemicals. Jake had learned fast. She had trained him like a cub. Now he was more. Now he was her pack. As the sun began to set, the ship lowered into the valley. No engines, no heat, just a slow, steady descent like a god returning to Earth. Jake's old communicator buzzed. A cold, artificial voice echoed from it. Subject 9A confirmed. Retrieval unit deployed. Do not resist. Resistance equals termination. He looked at the Huntress. She growled. "Let them come," he whispered. Night fell. The stars vanished behind the ship's dark body. From its belly, a pod dropped, landing, without sound, into the jungle floor. The door opened. 3 figures stepped out. Tall. Metallic. Not machines, but not alive either. Armored from head to toe. Glowing eyes behind glass masks. Their movements were too smooth, too perfect. Reapers. Jake had read about them once in secret files. Not soldiers, not diplomats, collectors. They didn't speak. They only scanned. They were built for one purpose: to bring the seed back. They moved through the trees in perfect silence, scanning the land, marking traps. One stepped over a wire without triggering it. Another deflected a poison dart with a shield. They were learning. Fast. But then, the Huntress attacked. She came, from above, leaping from a tree, spear spinning in the air. She landed on one Reaper's back, driving her blade deep into the neck joint. Sparks flew. The Reaper twitched, and fell. The other 2 turned instantly. One fired a plasma bolt, missing her by inches. The other charged. Jake activated a trap, explosives hidden in tree bark. The blast lit the jungle red, sending fire through the leaves. He ran. The second Reaper followed fast, faster than he could imagine. Jake slid under a log, dove into a pit, rolled out the other side. The Reaper jumped, just as Jake turned and threw a broken metal shard into its eye. The Reaper stumbled. The Huntress arrived a second later and finished it with a roar. 2 down. But then another pod landed, and another. More Reapers stepped out. 5 this time. No more scanning. They were here to take. Jake and the Huntress fell back to the inner valley. He breathed hard, chest burning. "There's too many." She didn't answer. She was watching the sky again. Something else was coming. A final pod. Larger. Heavier. It landed harder than the others, shaking the ground. The door opened with steam, and a figure stepped out. Not a Reaper. Something worse, human-shaped, but not human. His skin was smooth like glass, his eyes black, his voice like silk and steel. "Subject 9A, he said. "You've grown." Jake stepped back. "Who are you?" The being smiled. "I am your creator." Jake froze. The Huntress moved in front of him, spear ready. The being laughed softly. "How loyal she is, even after she failed her first one." The Huntress growled. "I know what you did to her," Jake said. "We gave her purpose, and she chose weakness. Now she protects you for love." The being tilted his head. Primitive. Jake clenched his fists. You turned me into a tool. You are a tool, the voice said calmly. Your blood holds the key to surviving what's coming, not just for us, for all life. You are not chosen. You are made. He stepped forward. Come willingly. We'll take only what we need. You won't even remember. The Huntress stepped forward, roaring now, rage shaking her body. The Creator raised a hand, and she stopped. Mid-motion. Frozen. Jake screamed. What did you do? A command. Placed in her mind long ago in case she disobeyed. She struggled, her eyes wide. Desperate. He couldn't let this happen. Jake looked at her. You're not a weapon anymore, he said. You're free. He raised his own hand and pressed the signal beacon from the memory core. A pulse burst. From it, a wave. The command cracked, and the Huntress screamed, breaking through the control. She leapt. The final battle began. The bee. Last hunt, the scream echoed through the jungle. The Huntress had broken the command, not just fought it, shattered it. She moved like a storm, her body fueled by rage, pain, and something deeper, freedom. The Creator didn't flinch. Impressive, he said. He raised one hand. The remaining Reapers charged. Jake didn't run this time. He grabbed a fallen plasma blade from the first Reaper they had destroyed, its edges still glowing. He stood back to back with the Huntress. We end this, together, he said. She gave one quick nod. The last hunt had begun. The Reapers came fast, 5 of them, armored and silent, no mercy in their machines. The Huntress leapt high, landing on one's chest, tearing through its armor with her claws and driving a spear into its core. Sparks exploded. The body fell, twitching. Jake rolled beneath another, slicing its legs with the plasma blade. It fell hard. He climbed its back and stabbed into its skull. The third one grabbed his arm. Too strong. Bones cracked. But then the Huntress was there, breaking the machine's arm with one powerful kick, roaring as she slammed her fist into its throat. 3 down. 2 more circled them. They moved as one now, hunter and hunted, protector and survivor. No fear, no backing down, but the Creator didn't fight. Not yet. He watched from above, standing on a ledge like a god overseeing a game. When the last Reaper fell, he stepped forward. Do you think you've won? He asked. His body began to shift, liquid and smooth. From his back, sharp tendrils extended, weapons made from flesh and steel. His voice turned darker. You were built for this moment, he said to Jake. All of this, even your pain, your loss, it made your body perfect, but your mind is still weak. He looked at the Huntress. And she is your weakness. He attacked. Fast. Faster than any Reaper. The first tendril hit Jake in the chest, sending him flying. He crashed into a rock, coughing blood. The second sliced toward the Huntress. She dodged, barely, rolling, grabbing a burning metal pipe and hurling it into the air as a distraction. But the Creator kept coming. Cutting, twisting, striking without pattern. He was too powerful. Jake tried to stand. He couldn't breathe. Blood dripped from his mouth. The Huntress was on the ground now, her armor torn, her hand shaking. The Creator walked toward her, calm and cruel. You broke your orders, he whispered. For what? Emotion? Shame? Love? He raised a final blade. You'll die for it. No, Jake said. The voice was weak, but it carried. The Creator turned. Jake stood, barely, bloody, shaking. But, standing, you created me, but you don't own me. He looked at the Huntress. She showed me what life means. Not orders. Not programming. Choice. The Creator sneered. Choice is an illusion. No, Jake said again. He reached into his belt and activated the last piece of salvage tech, the overloaded energy cell. This is real. A glowing pulse filled the jungle. The creator's eyes widened. "What have you done?" Jake looked at the Huntress. "Run." She didn't move. She stared at him. And for the first time, her eyes filled with tears, but he smiled. "Go. Live." She leapt, fast. She grabbed Jake as the pulse exploded, but it was too late. A blinding flash swallowed the world. Everything went dark. He awoke to soft light. Birds, wind, green trees. He was alive. He blinked. She was beside him, wounded, bleeding, but alive too. The blast had destroyed the creator, turned the ledge into a crater. Nothing remained but dust and a smoking wreck of twisted metal. The war was over, but the cost. Jake sat beside the Huntress, both of them staring at the sunrise. "You saved me," he said. She leaned her head against his soft quiet, like a cub finding warmth. But he was no cub now, and she was no longer just a protector. They had survived together. They had won. Weeks passed. They didn't speak much. Words were never their language. But they lived. They hunted. They built one night. Jake sat by the fire repairing an old distress beacon. He looked at her. She watched him silently. "If I send this," he said, "Earth might find me." She nodded. "But they might try to take me, to finish what he started." She looked at the stars, then at him, and shook her head. "Not if I'm with you." He smiled and turned the beacon off. "This planet isn't home, but with her, I finally am." The end.